there is two schools, there's a lot of optimism, so there's not going to be as many bankruptcies as you expect, but all the signs with the SaaS Chapter 11 and the debt went up, as you say, I think that there probably is going to be more than people expect. It's interesting what you say that middle management don't understand those basic tenets of running a business. Is that still the case when you go into airlines today?
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with middle management, don't misunderstand me, but they do hold the strategic conduit between the message from the top, the leadership, and how that's implemented at grassroots level. And as I'm getting older, I'm conscious that I'm becoming a grumpy old man because, or perhaps I'm just getting more agitated by the lack of customer service. But what really annoys me, and there I see huge opportunities, is the way in which managers run their services. You know, the airline business is that we're in the FMCG business, so we have to respond to consumers' demands, and the lack of customer service, aside from what's been happening in the last few months with the airports and not just in the United Kingdom and the airlines, it's extremely frustrating from the consumer's point of view. Almost to the point that you think the CEO of an airline or an airport simply doesn't use his or her airline in the way in which other passengers do.
There is the possibility in the 26A under the UK law of cramming down debt where debt is not prepared to cooperate. So, there are obviously going to be lots of different views, some supportive, some not so supportive, but the courts have the ability in the UK to cram down that debt and make sure that the procedures to save the business have priority. And that's also been the case with Norwegian Airlines. Norwegian was, actually quite popular amongst the people that fly like me, not necessarily in the industry. It was quite a popular airline. Went across the Atlantic in reasonable costs and with reasonable flights and whatever. But COVID and the pandemic really hit it bad. It actually did its own procedures to save its business by reorganising the debt. And with all of these situations, if you can reorganise that debt and you still have a good business to move forward with, then that saves the company, saves the business to move forward in a slightly different way with not so much debt burden. Certainly in the case of Norwegian Air, it cut down a lot of its business so that instead of having 140 odd aircraft, it ended up with about 50 aircraft, but still had a business that it could move forward with and today try and grow.
When I did Air Water, for example, we were turning over on 300 or 400 million. And when you spoke to the staff, they were saying, how much money do we lose? They said, well, we lose a bit. But it's a government airline, so it doesn't matter. They keep giving us money and have done for the last 20 years. Well, that had to stop through Brussels and state aid, etc., legally. And so we did some very simple calculations, got a lot of the staff together, about 2,000 of them, and said, for every €1 we earn as an airline, it costs us €1.25. It was a very simple calculation. It took 1 minute to explain it. And you could see in people's face, they suddenly, well, my goodness, they had no concept about how much money we were losing. And then the agenda was set in terms of, well, what are we going to do about this? We can't do it simply because we say that we've got to change. And suddenly you got the staff involved in the whole process, including the management. By that time, the senior management had moved on, either before I got there or fairly soon afterwards. And we started tackling that. It's not rocket science, I'm not particularly clever, to be honest with you. It's just an application of making sure that you knew what the opportunities were, that you explained it. One more example, when I took over Sabina at Brussels Airlines, when Sabina went bust in '99, I inherited most of the Sabina staff, which was fair enough, all those that were left. And most of them, particularly on the revenue management and network side, had said that the reason why they failed was, bear in mind, they'd only made a profit once in 1958, and that was because of Expo, in their 70-year-old year history, was because of Ryanair down the road at Charleroi, who then had two 737s. And this was the demise of Sabina. People believed this. So I used a consultant quite quickly, and we did a series of exercises. And within a couple of months, we proved conclusively that 76%, I don't remember this number, of the people travelling on Ryanair at that point, in 2000, had never flown before. And we said, well, what's the problem? They're creating a market for us. So don't start blaming everyone else, particularly the competition. And most airlines don't realise, and most management teams within airlines do not realise the biggest competitor is themselves.
I don't think there has been a period of time when debt has been so cheap for such a long period. And we're about to lose that period. You know, debt is no longer, over the next few years, going to be so cheap, because we've got, you know, what is rampant inflation going on at the moment. You know, when you get to sort of 10% and whatever, you know, I remember the panic that there was when inflation went over 20%. Well, that was many years ago, but there was total panic, and you know, the whole economy sort of was brought to a full stop to try and deal with that question of inflation. And interest rates are going to be the measure of what government or the Bank of England in the UK certainly will do in relation to controlling inflation. And I do think that interest rates, it's the same in America. We get led by what happens in America as well. But I do think that interest rates are going to become much more of a burden